Okay, number 4. How well did the iPhone 6 sell? We're going to find out today as Apple releases their quarterly earnings. It'll be the first indicator of how a number of new products have outperformed. And, you know, Scott, you and I were talking a bit earlier about sort of, you know, what I think are going to be the 3 key things that people are going to talk about here. You know, we talked about iPhone 6 versus the iPhone 6 Plus sales. We also talked about, there's also going to be questions around Mac versus iPad sales. And the third thing that folks are going to talk about is Apple versus the expectations for Apple, right? So there's the company itself and then what we expect out of the company in the next year.
So, been fantastic. Tim's been running it for 2 years. He's been running it great. His first new product will be the watch. And it's not completely fair because that's a very radical departure. So the fact that they run across our information platform, so whether they lose sales from laptops to iPads or from iPhone 6s, 6 Pluses that might cut into the Mini, if you have to think about their strategy meetings, it's like, you know what, we've got it covered top to bottom and pretty
what
cool.
a turnaround for Tim Cook.
It's
I mean,
fantastic.
everybody
it's
was
fantastic.
against this guy last year.
Well, you know, he was the operations guy,
Right.
and you know what the interesting thing is? He actually must have picked up a ton from being Steve's partner.
Just being
and so
there.
he's got the vision piece for sure, and he's got the ops piece. He's doing great.
Okay, well, speaking about expectations, right? Well, Yahoo is releasing their earnings later today. CEO Marissa Myers, our number 3 story, has promised to use the occasion to talk about her plans for Yahoo's stake in Alibaba. And we were just joking earlier. I mean, it is nice to have a $40 billion plus problem here, right? But it is a real big problem because shareholders weren't happy with what she did the last time around with the shares in Alibaba.
Well, speaking about perceptions of a CEO, right? I mean, we have seen it really flip on its head for Marissa Mayer. When she came in, there were such high expectations that people were willing to cut her a lot of slack. And now she has exactly the opposite problem, that even if she does something right, it seems like the praise of her will come very begrudgingly because now it seems as though the perception is really stacked against her.
She's in a no-win situation right now. I think she's a star. I think she's great. I think she should be given more time. I think that she should take cash in, as we talked about before, and I think she can do innovative things with it. But the street's either going to say, give us the money or we don't like you, and then the tech community is going to say, you gave back the money so you're not any good because you couldn't prove that you could make it work. So if she keeps it, she loses, and if she gives it, she loses. It's unfortunate.
It's kind of a no-win situation,
it is.
as you point out. Okay, number 2. We are staying with tech and speaking about maybe no win or less of a win here from Microsoft. Shares of the company are falling big time. In fact, the big mover today in the pre-market after the company delivered a mixed bag for its second quarter results. Look, the Xbox was a bright spot.
The
for
Surface.
Microsoft. The Surface,
interestingly enough. I mean, most of the commentary I've seen has not been that negative. There was one analyst who called it a B+ rather than maybe the A- that was expected. So maybe here, too, you have an expectations issue that Satya Nadella has sort of built up these higher expectations and that Microsoft didn't deliver on them.
Well, you know, he's got to do a bit of a reset. If he just continued on the course he was, then they would actually fall off a cliff. So he's got startup qualities. The fact that Windows 10 is going to be free, it's a very Google-like move, and he's got them as a competitor. They have their own version of Office with their various Word and PowerPoint kind of competitors. So my view is he's actually doing the right thing. You have to go into a little bit of a valley to come back the other side and become
Is
dominant.
the 4-letter word going to come up? A split, perhaps?
Boy, I don't think you should split. I don't think that's the answer. I think that they too have platform capabilities, and if he can take the platforms that he's had from the past and start to move them to the cloud and diversify them and get Xbox and maybe the phone and have some of those Apple qualities, I think that they can come back.